Hi everyone, I am doing a series of videos on the films of 1973, which is 40 years ago this year. The movie I'd like to talk about right now is, of course, Don't Look Now by Nicholas Roeg, a film which I'd actually already seen back in the 90s. This, along with Serpico, were two 1973 movies that I'd already seen, and they are amongst my very favorites of the ones that I've seen so far. Really like Serpico a lot, and same is true with this one, and I can appreciate it even more now because although it was made by an English director, Nicholas Roeg, it very, very much looks like it came from an Italian filmmaker. After I'd seen Don't Look Now originally, my good friend Matthew, who's actually sent me a film called The Tenderness of the Wolves, which I'll be reviewing next, he sort of went on an Italian horror movie binge. A lot of Dario Argento, Lucio Fulci, Mario Bava, and Don't Look Now has some of the same sort of signature style that some of those Italian directors employed. A lot of sudden zooms and just the general style that really seemed Italian, which is appropriate seeing as how most of this movie takes place in Venice, Italy. The main characters are played by Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. They're a married couple. In the beginning of the film, you see them relaxing in their home, doing a little bit of work. He is an art restorer. He's looking at some slides. And their young daughter, who's elementary school age, is outside playing. She's got blonde hair and she's got this bright red coat on, and she accidentally falls into a nearby stream and drowns. And almost as soon as this happens, there's a sudden transition to them in Italy, where they are living for a while he works on a Catholic church that is in the neighborhood. So there's a period there's a big sort of time jump there because they're not really grieving anymore. Of course, they miss their daughter, I'm sure, but they're not really actively, despondent and mourning still. They've moved on with their lives at that point. So a few years since that tragic event took place. So they're sitting in a cafe, basically, and they happen to meet a couple of women, I believe in their 60s. I believe they're sisters, actually, and one of them is blind, and she claims that she has seen their daughter sitting with them at the table in the cafe. She is psychic. It's funny also because of the Italian influence in this film. I think the blind woman has her pupils are just like solid white, and it really reminded me of a character in The Beyond, which is a Lucio Fulci horror film. So I really got this sort of Italian feel of this. Anyway, Sutherland, he really isn't convinced. He doesn't believe in, superstitious hocus pocus, as Indiana Jones would say. Whereas Julie Christie is like, but she knew things about us. She knew things about our daughter. She couldn't possibly know. She must be telling the truth. It's just like psychic. Yeah, whatever. I'll see. I really find it hard to believe if I can't even see it. So Julie Christie was really interested in these two women and wants to spend a little more time with them, find out more about her daughter and what they know about her, that kind of thing. And what they tell her is that her husband, Donald Sutherland, is actually in some kind of danger. He has to beware. There's something bad that's going to happen to. Of course, this is all very vague, and when Julie Christie tells Donald Sutherland about this, he's just like, psh, really, whatever. But thereafter, really creepy things start to happen. First of all, somewhere in Venice, there's a killer running around. A couple of women have turned up dead, so someone is performing some murders. That's no good. Oh, I forgot to mention, of course, that Venice is that city in Italy that has no roads, only waterways. So you travel to different places by boat, which is ironic considering that their daughter died by drowning. But, of course, that makes it somewhat difficult to get around. You have to either go by boat or there are bridges connecting the various blocks of concrete that the buildings are all constructed upon. So yeah, there's the murders, obviously, and when Donald Sutherland, actually, there's a really good scene in which he is working on a church, and he has to climb up some extremely unstable scaffolding to look at this piece of art that he is working on restoring. And, you know, we've already heard the warnings from the two women about him being in danger, so it's just a really, really tense scene waiting for something to happen. It's just like any moment now that thing is going to break apart and he's going to, you know, fall or get killed, something like that, you know. Kind of reminded me of one of those scenes in the Damien movies, you know, The Omen, you know, where there are all these sort of elaborate death traps, or I guess you could say that's like kind of like Final Destination, only they're not as good as the Damien movies. The Damien movies have some really, really great death scenes. So I kept, you know, waiting for something like that to happen, or at least I would have been if I had not seen this movie already. I remember just a few details about the film from the first time I saw it. So knowing sort of where the movie was going was kind of interesting because I could see some of the foreshadowing in it. And of course, Donald Sutherland doesn't believe that he's really psychic, as they say. I can't remember if I mentioned that already. The women claim that Donald Sutherland has some psychic ability, and he's just like, I don't think so. But in the opening scene of the film, when his daughter falls in the water, he immediately realizes something's wrong. He has to run outside, even though there's no way that he could know that because they're in like the other end of the house. There's no windows. He couldn't have seen it. So there may be some truth in that. And he begins to see in Venice, on occasion, a small person running around wearing the same red coat as his daughter, and he becomes intrigued by this. There are a couple other instances where he sees things that maybe couldn't actually be true. So is this a vision that he's having or something like that? We don't know. But I really like this movie a lot. It's really, really good. The acting is really good. I really am a big fan of Donald Sutherland. I've liked him in lots of movies over the years. He did this direct-to-video movie with Tia Carrere and John Lithgow called Hollow Point. It's just action comedy. It's very, very silly and dumb, but he's fantastic, and he's been great in a lot of other stuff as well. This probably wouldn't be the first movie anyone would recommend when talking about Donald Sutherland, but that's the one that always comes to mind just because he's so fun in it. And I haven't seen a lot of Julie Christie, but she's really good as well. It's just a good, creepy, moody, kind of scary film, and really like the way it's shot and cut. It's a winner overall. And Nicholas Roeg, of course, is probably best known for doing, in addition to this movie, a couple of movies that star musicians. David Bowie was the lead in The Man Who Fell to Earth, and then you had Mick Jagger, of course, in Performance, which I believe was his first film. So that is my review of Don't Look Now, and the next video I'll be doing is, of course, The Tenderness of Wolves, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah. It's one of the movies that my friend Matthew sent me. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again real soon. Bye.